Hi, everyone. Welcome to Plant a Good Seed live video podcast. Many thanks to IBM TV for that wonderful introduction as well as providing this platform. My guest today is Anil Thapa, who is joining us from Nepal. Hey there. And for everyone to know, it is about midnight in Nepal right now. So Anil's here with us very late at night, but let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a Tanka artist. He's a sacred artist, author and student of Himalayan shamanic and native wisdom traditions. Influenced from a young age by the Hindu and Buddhist culture of his native Nepal, Anil practiced and honed his skills as a devoted Tanka artist. The painting brought Anil from his homeland to places like China, Canada, and eventually the United States. In the U.S., Anil established a gallery and cultural center in the heart of Berkeley, California. In 2019, 7 years after opening his center, Anil was honored by the city of Berkeley for his contributions to preserving art and culture. During his time, Anil was introduced to Native American culture and music and began to play and record native flute music. His book, Honoring the Land, speaks to his love of nature and his experience of the wisdom available through reverence of the earth. Now back in Nepal, Anil's vision is to build what he calls a temple of the elements. His new center in the mountains will be a place to honor and connect with Mother Nature. Both the land and structures will be designed to harness and highlight the natural elements. His temple of elements will be a physical manifestation of and a place to align with the subtle and gross expressions of the natural world. Welcome. Are you frozen? Are we having technical difficulties here? Looks like he's frozen. So as soon as he gets unfrozen, he will play the flute for us. Now, it could be me that's frozen. All right, so we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Hopefully, he will fix those and come back to us. But he's going to play a little flute for us if we can get it going. But we definitely want to talk about your mind being on lockdown during lockdown, because we know that our bodies have, to a large extent, been on lockdown. But what goes on with our mind? Because we can't change that. And being in Nepal, he's in, I believe, what is called a monastery. And so he is going through a lot of almost lockdown for himself. He put himself in lockdown in monastery so that he could do other things with his spirit and his soul, as well as increase his painting. So I'm not sure what's happened now with his video. But so again, he's in Nepal and he's going to build a temple of the elements. He has a website, I believe it's called templeoftheelements.org, that you can check out. And if one of our producers wants to go to it and run it live, we can walk through it while Anil's fixing his technical difficulties. But basically, there's a lot of importance to... We try to multitask. It's funny. I'm just going to be personal with you right now since we're having technical difficulties. My son and I were arguing this morning about multitasking because at my point, I don't believe you can do two things well at the same time. And my son believes that you can do as many things at the time that you can handle. But the point is to try to do two things, to try to do them 100%. And that's where I am, is I like to do things right and not halfway. So hopefully, again, we can see this. But if you want to check it out on your side, you're online, if you're watching me online, honoringtheland.org. And we'll check out the different elements he has. One thing that's super cool is he's actually inserted teepees, Native American teepees, because again, when he was here in this country, he was invited to be a part of them. And that's where he learned his flute and learned a lot of other indigenous healing propensities, especially with the connection to the land. Those of you that know me well know my company name is Earth Monkey Energies. And I didn't call it Earth Monkey Energies lightly. It's because we come from the earth. We're part of the earth. We're all connected. It's not just that we're all connected as human beings. It's not just that we're connected as human beings. We're connected to all things, all living things in the earth itself. It's from which we come, and it's where we're going to go. So, hi, JH. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Promised you, and Neil, hopefully he'll fix his difficulties here soon and be able to come online with us. But it even looks like we're having trouble pulling up the website. So be it. But yeah, so the elements, connecting with the land, and the land we know brings us really, our environment brings us the elements. And when I talk about the elements, I'm talking about fire, water, earth, air, and then some people say spirit as well. Some people say there's 5 elements. Some people say there's 4 elements. In traditional Chinese medicine, there's 5 elements. We add metal to that list to come up with the 5 elements. At its very simplistic point, in my definition, we're all composed of the elements. One thing that I strive for in my business is to help you find your balance. And one way to find your balance is to get in touch with all of your elements. I'll tell a personal story right here, and that is, for an example, fire element. I'm very strong with the earth and water element, which means that I feel I can be very grounded, very solid. In water, sometimes I can flow. But my fire element and my air element was all but missing last year. And so I've worked on those, and there's a variety of ways you can work on your elements to have balance. You start with your main one, whichever one you feel the most comfortable with, whichever one that you feel really makes you come alive is the element that you start with. But then whatever element that you're not comfortable with is the element to work on to try to achieve that balance. So Ankit, I got a message that he's back. Anil is back if you want to try to bring him back into the show so that we can move forward with what we have planned for everybody today. Whoop. Sorry. Backstage. Apparently they're having issues with their electricity in Nepal. He says they're in the rainy season. So I hope nothing happened to their building. So we'll see what happens. You must enter the broadcast. There you are.
There you go.
Welcome back. So is it electricity?
Sorry
you said? The electricity went out?
Yeah, it was electricity everywhere. Yes, electricity went out.
Oh my gosh.
And it's, I think,
Hello?
yeah.
Are you there?
I think it's because it's a monastery, and today is a Saturday, tomorrow is a Sunday. You know.
Okay, you're cutting in and
so.
So are you think you're good now? You think we can move forward? You're still cutting in and out, Anil. Okay, so he must have lost contact again. Woo, this is frustrating. For you guys that are watching, I apologize. But I guess this is part of what happens when we work with technology on multiple continents. Um, but we certainly can see if he comes back on, since he didn't seem to lose electricity this time, but he lost something. Okay, so let's go back to what we were talking about with the elements. Oh, he's coming back on, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if this is as frustrating for you guys watching as it is for me here. This really wasn't intended to happen. So, okay, but let's move forward. So basically, balance is key, JH. You're exactly right. And when we look to the elements, again, the elements are what make us, right? The elements are what forms matter. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that too, JH. Hopefully it'll happen today. We'll see. Well, we're going to give it another shot. This is really kind of interesting. I'm going to say it's getting kind of funny now. But in any case, yes, so balance. When we look to balance, a lot of times we need to balance the energies around us. Many of us have heard of Feng Shui. Feng Shui is the art of balancing and harmonizing your environment, right? So that you have, and really what that does is it brings in the elements, is what a Feng Shui practitioner does. It makes sure that you have air. It makes sure that you have water. It makes sure that you have fire. Ooh, we're going to try it. Maybe third time's the charm.
Third time is a charm, probably. That's right.
Since you're here and working, without further ado, let's jump on in if you're ready to play a
Yes.
little flute for us.
Yeah. Sorry for the electric things. It's
Yeah, yeah,
life
it
in life.
happens.
There are many things actually teaches us a patience. So, uh, so, and I mean, you know, it's an
Yeah.
opportunity. So
Yes.
here's a small offering of my flute.
That was lovely. Thank you. So
Mm.
tell us, so you told us a little bit. We know about the electricity there. So tell us a little bit
Mm.
about where you are. Where are you?
Ah, well, so I am at the almost, I think I would say about 1.5 hour, in the outskirt of the Kathmandu Valley, and it is somewhere somewhere in the hills, about 1.5 hour in the hills, in little far from the Kathmandu. So I am in Kathmandu, Nepal, and yeah.
So what, if I can be so bold to ask this question, so can you tell us what you're doing there outside of Kathmandu in Nepal? Oh, we're frozen again. Oh, we're live. We're frozen.
Currently, I'm in a currently I'm a Buddhist study I would.
Okay.
uh, and uh, here we are practicing meditation, studying about the Buddhist philosophy, and mostly practice.
Mostly practicing what? You keep cutting out still. Ah, hello. Can you hear me? There you are. Well, I'm
Mhm.
going to just
Did
address
you
the
hear what I
elephant.
said? Did you
I
hear? Did you
barely
guys?
heard what you said, and I want to say, it's so funny because when we talked,
Okay.
we didn't have these technical difficulties, but now we're having them now that we're live on the air. Go figure. More lessons.
I mean,
Yes.
well, I would like to also thank everyone who are patiently watching this thing, and thank you so much. Your patience is very, very appreciated. I mean, the technical one of those things we can really, we cannot
Yeah.
really predict, and things like that happen. And I think, things like this happen, and these are here for everything. There are for a reason,
Yes.
and if you open to something, uh, um, in, in the somewhere in the hills, in the mountains, I'm able to use a little bit of internet in whatever way I can. So I'm to uh, you know to use this to share with you all. So uh,
Right.
once again, thank you so much. Everybody's patient.
Right. Very much so. So let's talk about, so you basically, when you go there, you basically put yourself in lockdown, right? For the most part, right? Whereas the rest of us, the
Mhm.
outside world,
Right.
we were put in lockdown by the government because of COVID. But you chose to put yourself in the situation where, like, even when we were
Mm.
talking, you said you don't go outside, right? You like don't go in the towns, and you stay there, right?
No, right. Mhm.
And
When we
that's
were
mhm,
talking, one of this monk brother who was bringing food for me, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
so there are people like not everyone is doing that practice right.
Okay.
Some people who goes out because somebody do have to go out and buy something, but
Mhm.
like people like us, we are currently on 45 days of summer retreat. It is called, and it is also kind of a the retreat actually started from the beginning of the in the time of Buddha himself, that they do this 45 days and 3 months of what do you call this isolation, or
Okay.
the retreat time, because it is considered that this is the rainy season and there's a lot of different creatures, more
Mhm.
this earthworms and all that different things come out, and you are walking on the street, and you are hurting, so you like kind of just pull yourself back, and it's more like an inner hibernation. How does the bear does that, when like
Yes.
I think the bear does for how long, 6 months or something.
Yeah. When
They
it's
actually do
cold.
quite a long time. I didn't actually
Yeah.
I didn't actually I didn't actually knew, but we're doing this hibernation, and more like we're constantly kind of praying for sentient beings. We're constantly doing meditation. We're constantly generating this sort of energy. Um, Constantly we're praying for all because in Buddhist practice, one of the profound thing is that I have come to know, that we learn we all sentient beings have been directly
Yes.
indirectly our mother, whether it is like tiny little earthworms, or it's little bee, or it's animal in the forest. So of course we cannot remember all these things, but
Right.
we're here to like to remember and to be grateful, and to generate the prayers for all.
Yeah. And so for those of you that it's hard to hear, he's talking about the idea of being kind to all sentient beings, not just human beings, and not just the people you like, but all living beings, to have
Mm-hmm.
respect and to honor them. And you're saying that's part of the reason why you're there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, it's the part of the practice also. It's a part of the practice.
Got you. Got you. So you put yourself in hibernation, basically, to use your word. You put yourself
Mm-hmm.
in hibernation because you're going within. You choose to be in
Right.
hibernation, to go
Mm-hmm.
within. So tell us a little bit, for those people that don't know anything about Buddhism, those people that really maybe just may be starting their inward journey to realize what lies within versus what lies
Mm-hmm.
without, right?
Yeah, this. I think a couple of days ago, I was, sharing this one of the post. It says free visa and free ticket. And free visa and free ticket. What does that really mean? Is a free visa, free ticket means there is a universe within yourself that you really, it's you don't need visa, you don't need ticket. You can always travel. Only the things that is important is willingness to travel. And in Buddhism, there's a very specific, special, there's a practices and emphasize on. There is saying like the universe within is waiting to be revealed.
Okay. The universe within is
And
waiting to be revealed.
it gives you yes,
Okay.
there is to understand internal the coexist, like coexist of the external and internal world. And so Buddhism a lot of time emphasize on going deep into yourself, because when we talk about the external world, it is a part of your internal world, because our
True.
body is made of different elements like the earth, water, and the fire, what we see outside. So it really emphasizes to really understand the inner engineering, inner math, inner understanding, inner, yourself also. And there are many, method that you use. For example, you use some teachers technique, and you take a lot of different example from outside, but you learn. It's like what you call in Tibetan word. There is a call nishu mepa, which means non-duality,
Yeah.
to entering into more non-duality. I'm sure I'm not into that stage yet, but still, the process is
Hmm.
going on and going on. So
So the non-duality, can you define that for us?
sure, definitely. I mean, the non-duality is to have to cut the boundary of the separateness between, me, my, and
Okay.
external world and internal world, because the non one separate us, separate us separate us into bigger picture, that it is being blocked by the duality, and definitely,
Ah,
the duality can duality, but at the same time, a lot of time, if this thing, then we can really not understand the bigger picture, that we are part of the oneness, and that's what we are
100%.
actually talking
Yes.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the
So
duality gives us walls, and then we stay almost behind the
right.
walls.
Uh,
But then when we learn that, hey, we're all
mm.
connected, these walls really are somewhat transparent that we've
Yeah.
created, so let it
Right. I mean,
plant your seeds, get out of the
absolutely,
wall.
absolutely,
Hmm. That's beautiful.
absolutely.
That's
Because
wonderful.
and I think the also very important to understand the duality. first, because you do have to really understand like duality also, so that you can understand the bigger picture of non-duality. So it's actually the process.
It's kind of like having technical difficulties and not having technical difficulties. You have to understand and appreciate the difficulties,
Right,
right?
right.
So that tells, so you
Yes,
basically have
absolutely,
put,
absolutely.
so you've basically put your body in lockdown, but your mind's not in lockdown, right? Because your mind is never in lockdown, with
Mm,
the exception, we were talking about that the other day, but at
yes.
the same time, if you do, just following the
Right.
duality conversation that we've got, that is a lockdown. So in a way, that duality does put your mind in a lockdown. We create these temples now. Our mind's never in lockdown, meaning that it
Mm.
never stops, right? But at the same time, our mind can be locked down and limited by previous beliefs and perceptions.
I mean, what we're really saying about your never locked down. It's first of all, I was reflecting on that day before yesterday also, like when we go to sleep, our
Yeah.
mind never sleep because it travels, it travels to,
Yes.
different world, or, have different,
Mm-hmm.
and there are practices where I think it's getting more and more used to in the Western world, about like dream yoga practices, where I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are getting more and more, familiarity about this thing. And,
Mm-hmm.
this I feel like a lot of time this mind also creates a lot of different boundaries, that we are limited
Yes.
and we're like
Mm-hmm.
this, and but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time the mind
Mm-hmm.
itself also create this boundless
Yeah.
opportunity, the boundless
Yes.
openness. And so your mind is
Yes.
never locked down. This topic we wanted to more discuss about is, we should really, find to connect to your mind, in
Yes.
a healthy way. There are people who want to
Yes.
connect their mind, in different ways. People are, doing a lot of different things. And so I think healthy way, when I say healthy way, for me, it is more about, connecting with nature,
Yes.
not, just connecting with the nature, listening the birds, listening to the animal, like just being, I love, this, I think that is for me to, the process to understand your mind is never locked down. And, once you are, I think, when you are in tune with that element of, like connecting with nature and all that thing, you really understand your mind is so powerful, and your mind is
Mm.
so, 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 so vast,
Yes.
and,
There's no
we
limits,
are,
really.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
so many
Mm-hmm.
time we're like making our mind limited into our body, thinking about, my mind is my body. And I think it is,
It's
but at the
part of it.
same time, it is a very small part. It's a small part
Mm-hmm.
of the, itself. So, technically, you use your body as a method to understand the mind. Your body is like a ladder, your body is like a ladder, so that you can really understand the mind. And, I mean, the most interesting thing I find is a lot of time people are too much time. They kind of they use almost 90% of their energy to understand the external thing, and they never
Yeah.
get to
Right.
understand. And they
Right.
never, and
Right.
usually at the end you start, frustrating. You start
Yes.
being frustrated because you really don't understand this person. And so, you know, so the thing is, I'm not saying that you should not understand this person or that person, but at least why not maybe spend some time to understand also yourself, maybe deeper self, really maybe going a little deeper self, why not, and especially these lockdown things is, I say it's giving us more opportunity, to not only, think about, what I cannot do, but maybe also think about what I can do, what we can do, and I think there's, this, paradigm and this concept about, oh, I cannot travel, oh, I cannot, go to that restaurant, oh, I cannot, but rather maybe why not add some elements about, oh, maybe I should meditate 1 hour a day, maybe,
Yeah.
or
Or just
maybe I
start
should,
with a few minutes. Because like
Oh
my
yeah.
friend that was over
Sorry.
last night, she's
Sorry.
never meditated, and I'm like, I'm not going to suggest you sit for an hour because you're going to get nothing but frustrated. So I showed her these little apps, just sit for 3 minutes, just find
Yeah.
a quiet spot, start the habit. So your body it's that muscle memory. Because again, I teach Tai Chi and Qi Kung, and I always stress the muscle memory. Your body's got to be in its place, and then you can let what's inside kind of shine out, radiate, whatever it is. But you've got this outside shell has got to like accept, and it can't be the top thing that you're thinking about in order to go. So anyway, I always recommend for folks when they first start, just a couple minutes, just a few minutes, find a guided one that you can just sit through. But it's so funny that you're saying this, because one of the things that drove me to Tai Chi was one of the initial stories of the Chinese immortals, right? They were looking where to put the secret of life. And the
Mm.
story goes, oh, we're going to put it out in space. Man will never find it there. And then somebody's like, oh, they will. Okay, we're going to put it at the bottom of the sea. That's where we're going to put the secret, at the bottom of the sea. They're never going to find it there. Somebody else was like, they'll find it. We're going to put it on a mountain. They're never going to find, like in Nepal, we're going to put it, somewhere nobody's going to find it. They'll find it. And then somebody spoke up and said, let's put it inside man. He'll never find it there. So it goes to, so that's the third, right? That's where we'll put the secret, because only a few people will find it. And that's part of what's
Right.
kept me with Tai Chi for so long. And that's what I see so often is people don't realize that so much of their world is created from what's inside themselves, but they never go inside to manage it and turn it the way. It's almost like they're victims. It's almost like this happened to me. And it's like, well, what are you doing inside? What is your reaction? What is your perception, right? What is happening? And I feel like that's part of what you're saying is that, we go inside to find our true nature and find our true connection, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I like to also add a couple of things into this thing is when you really, really travel inside, you cannot really expect that you will only find, oh, hula la,
Oh God,
wow,
no.
it's beautiful, So I think this is, an interesting part that I think people
Yes.
we have to really,
Accept.
I think accept that
Mm-hmm.
you really have to accept. That's why I think we talked earlier about the non-duality is
Yes.
you really have to accept your guilt. You have to accept your 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 negative things, whatever that is called. You really have to accept, and you don't judge. And you, because there is a when you see some water, and when the water is really moving, you can really see through. And there's that natural process of, there's natural process of this cleansing, and this filter things
Mm-hmm. Yep.
happen, and
Yep.
I like to suggest for everyone who is trying to do meditation is not to accept that, okay, meditation is going to be just a very peaceful thing. No, 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 no. I mean, this is a very interesting thing you have to understand. It's not going to be only peaceful, but eventually,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you will, you
Yeah.
can reach
Right.
peaceful. That's a
Right.
different thing. But
Right.
yes, that's a very sure that you will reach peaceful. But the journey is going to
Yep.
face the, the out. Like, I think there's a, the code word, the mantra. It says, it's okay.
Yes, it's going
It's
to be
okay.
okay.
It's just,
Yes.
you know, yeah. I think too, when you really dive into, so. Um,
But
I
you're
think
right,
that's
because when you
the
when you when you meditate, that's you and you. There's no escape from that, right? And that's part of what makes it rough. And as you go down your path of trying to, raise your vibration and find yourself, find your connection, find the divine spark, lift it up, there's so many different things, like you said, and it's really important for us to not judge ourselves. And let's say we want to meditate for 10 minutes, but let's say we only get 5 minutes in, instead of being like, I should have done it for 10 minutes. You'd be like, woo, I did it for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Yes. Mark, what's up?
Not much. Glad I could join y'all. Zach was
I
having an
too.
amazing show on the other side, but I did want to come in and join you and everything. One of the things I find about meditation, I'd love to hear from our main guest what his thoughts about this are, is that I sometimes think that we need to meditate even more regularly. That sometimes we try to do it on like a schedule. And I don't know that you can meditate on schedule because I sometimes just like to go out for a walk, go out for a short stroll or something like that. And while I'm out there, I'm meditating. I'm looking at nature. I'm looking at things around me and things of that nature. So I'm like reflecting on what's going on both in my own life as well as what's going on in the world. So I was wondering what our guests thought about that and whether we should try to like maybe not just always go on a schedule, but also try to meditate off a schedule. Because I sometimes think that the best meditation I have is when I'm not trying to do it in a set time.
Right.
I think you're right, Mark. I think nice to see you, and um, you're right. I think eventually it's nice to be off the schedule, but I think it's nice to be scheduled in the beginning, a little bit. But then once you get really used to it, and then you get familiarity of that, meditation. Because when we say dhyana in Sanskrit word, dhyana means awareness, and awareness, you basically technically you have to be aware, and you want to be aware all the time, and that's
Right.
the ultimate usually path of meditation is to you are meditate like there's for example there is saying like for enlightened being there is no meditation schedule, like you said, there's no schedule, because everything they do is a meditation, is everything they do is the dhyana. But for I think for the beginner, for people who want to like start up with those things, it's nice to maybe set a time, maybe a little bit in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening, just to sit for a few minutes, 10 minutes. And there is a definitely, there is I think there is a very interesting difference between seeing the outside and inside, because it's saying we're from the birth we're constantly looking outside, so we actually have looked a
Yes.
lot outside, we constantly have seen outside, and it's a part of us. But we really rarely give the chance to go inside, because we're constantly maybe whether through this or through that. And I think going deep into meditation it's a really exploring the mystery of that you cannot see from the eyes, that you cannot, meditation is also exploration of the mystery and a mystic,
Yes.
how mystic you are. I mean, the world itself is a mystic, of course, and there's no
Yes.
doubt about it, but at the same
Yes.
time, you are that world too. So, how much time you are also spending, to explore that mystic part of you? And I think, it's really nice that you are able to like really, go outside and just feel, whatever you're doing is like meditation. And I think that's really amazing. But at the same time, it's like. Meditation is also about the reflection, when you sit down, what you have done, and
Mm-hmm.
the past comes, there's like sometimes it comes like a hurricane, sometimes it comes like a roller coaster, sometimes it comes because the
Yes.
past comes, and these what he calls the subtle emotions, what we call,
Yes.
the different emotions that have been carried from in technically in the Buddhist practice, not only this life but many lifetimes. So when you are
Mm-hmm.
really, stilling your mind, making able to still your mind, you are able to see the very lot of different part. And so, definitely making a balance between, like, seeing the world outside and, making that as a, like when we do what we call circumambulation to the stupas and all that thing, we also do, it's also become part of meditation. And eventually, eating it should be a like be aware of
Yes.
what you're
Right.
eating, and who you are talking with, and eventually I think you become really aware of
Mm-hmm.
whatever you do, so that eventually, so but it's always nice to, I think, I would like to also point out, it's always nice to maybe set the schedule in the beginning for maybe 5, 10, 20 minutes or whatever that is, and maybe eventually expand that into the regular
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that I've
things
noticed, and I
that
don't know
you
if you,
do.
don't think that
So
even Tish knows this, but one of the things that is in my house and that I kind of like have regularly, and I will look at it on occasion, but it stays on my kitchen wall and everything is something that the Dalai Lama said, and it was actually something that I think is very relevant to today. And that's the thing that he wrote entitled "The Paradox of Our Age," where he said that we have bigger houses but smaller
Yes.
families, more
Yes.
convenience but less time. We have more
Right,
degrees
right, right.
but
Yes,
less sense, more knowledge but less judgment. And I mean, so many of these things are so relevant to what we're going through now. I know that the
100%.
thing ends with these are
absolutely.
times of fast food but slow digestion, tall man but short characters, steep profits but shallow relationships. It's a time there is much in the window but nothing in the room. And like I said, I know that I left out some of the passages that are in there, but I think that that's a core belief, and it's such
Mm.
a thing that's so relevant to what we're going through now in this world, and not just here in North America, but throughout the world. So, like I said, I don't even know when the Dalai Lama wrote that particular thing, but it seems so relevant to what we're going through with the coronavirus. So, I just wondered if you could even make some comments about that paradox of the ages, because, like I said, it's sitting up here on my kitchen wall. I oftentimes will stare at it, and it will give me a sense of purpose, a sense of peace, and also a sense of realization of what's going on in the world, because it's so profound. And like I said, I'm not even sure when he wrote that.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a really profound. That is very relevant. When I lived in California, life is also very busy, and I lived in China for a certain time. Life is very busy, but you know, um, you're almost like you're running for something, but you're never getting nowhere. It's like you're running, running, but you're reaching nowhere. It's making a circle again and again, a circle like a anyway, the Buddhist art that I paint and I practice is the tanka that you can see behind me. Initiate to go inside myself, and which I'm still going, and it's a journey. Um, but at the same time, when I lived in California, I had an opportunity to really come together, maybe get some knowledge and wisdom from Native Americans, the First Nation tribes, people. And so now I have come to more realization that the most of the issues that we are facing is because we're disconnected with the nature. That is, I
Yes.
think, the
Yes.
core.
Yes.
Whether I practice Buddhism or Christianity or Islam or whatever that is religion in the world. I mean, there's everybody have their own practices, faith and belief and religion and traditions, and this is okay. Relevant part, I think the core part is where we forgot about the relationship with the nature and the elements, and what that is,
Yes.
I think, taught by these First Nation Native Americans is,
Yes.
they really take the elements as the core. And I think this is the teaching that now I'm also bringing to the world, is whether I'm a Buddhist practitioner, but at the same time I think my emphasizing writing book, or whether playing flute, or building a retreat center or meditation center, or making a documentary or whatever. I think this is all going to be on point of honoring the land.
Yes.
And I think this is more, I'm more finding key now. It's for me, it's to how to deliver, how to deliver to the world, because I found the key that I think the most of the problem that we have here is because of we have been disconnected with the nature, and the nature elements, the air, water, fire, all that thing. And now I think through whether these teachings, or through my book, or through my flute music, or through whatever thing, I want to deliver this message of how we can reconnect. And that's why I think in the earlier of this video, I shared about, sometimes I feel like we're here to not even remember new things.
Right.
I feel like more and more I'm here to just remember the old things, like
Yes.
I'm
That's
here
it.
to just remember who I
Mhm.
am. I'm not, like,
Mhm.
so
That's
it's
right.
really interesting journey. So
Yeah, I come from a literature background, and one of my favorite little pieces is written by T.S. Eliot, and it's called Tradition and the Individual Talent. Now, he made it, kind of a bent through from literature, but basically it's everything's already been done. Everything's already been figured out. Everything's already out there. It's just up to us to channel it out, is basically what he was saying. In our individual ways with our individual purposes. But I want to go back to something that we were talking about and what Mark said. So we were talking about how people reach outside of themselves for different things, right? They're always busy, right, like little, rats on a wheel. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But it's all external goals, right? It's not what our soul really needs. And that to me is what one of the beauties of going within is, then you can hear what your soul is, what your being wants you to do, but you have to shut off what's going on out here, because this is led so many times, hate to say it and hate to throw this word in there, but by people's egos, by their fear, by all of these things, and it comes at you, it becomes a social construct, and then we think that's how we have to be. But honoring the land, which is so funny, I want to say it's a dialect, because that's also, we can look at it that nature's outside of us. Mark, when you go on your meditative walks, you're talking about what's outside of you. But instead of what's outside of you being distracting and taking you away from your base nature, it actually brings you back to the base nature, which Anil, which is why I'm so excited about your message of honoring the land and the elements, because if we reach outside ourselves for anything, that's what we should reach outside ourselves for. But once we're connected, we realize that really we're part of it at the same time. It's part of us. We're part of it. So we're just reconnecting, right, with nature and with our base elements and finding that balance and peace within. That's why so many people find peace in nature, is because it brings out their elements. It brings out what's inside of them, and they can go back to their base nature, is at least my take on it.
And I want to add to that, and then I want to hear from Anil as well, because one of the things that I've noticed is that it seems to me that whenever there's been a disaster in the world, that's when we seem to pay more attention to what I think we should pay attention to all the time,
Right.
like Mother
That's
Nature
exactly
and
right.
things of that nature. I know that when the coronavirus came out, we started seeing like dolphins appearing in parts of the world that dolphins had never appeared at, and things of that nature. We also started to see, I remember when 9/11 happened, and of course people were thinking about those attacks. Of course, that's we just had the 19th anniversary yesterday and everything. But I remember that when that happened, I used to observe like animals all over North Carolina. I was visiting a friend of mine who had an art studio, and we would see animals. Some animals that we didn't want to see, Tish, like some of the vermins and things of that nature.
Right.
But after the attack
all
happened,
part of it.
yeah, but after the attack happened, it was like almost as if the animals got a subconscious memo from the spiritual world, because we didn't see as many of them. At least that's the way I reflect on it. And I've talked to friends of mine from big cities like New York. They don't remember seeing as many pigeons. They don't remember seeing as many animals. So I actually sometimes do think, and I do have some Native American background as part of my family in addition to the African American background, but I actually think that sometimes the animals actually are in tune to what's going on in humankind. So it would behoove us, in my mind, to actually pay attention sometimes to what the animals are trying to tell us, because I think that they oftentimes giving us a powerful message if we would just listen to it. And that's just my thoughts. And I want to hear what you thought as well, as you're coming to us from Nepal. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because I just think that we need to listen more and more to the animals.
Mark, I totally agree with you, what you have just said about listening to the animals. And I think, I talked about a lot of this, but I don't want to really, point out the particular thing. But I think the modern, whatever that is, civilization it is, we're actually shutting down our sense. I think this is a very important point we have to know. The modern civilization, we're actually shutting down our sense. And because of that, neither we are listening to ourselves, nor we're listening to the nature messages, nor we're listening to the animals, because we're actually shutting down the sense. and that's why I think the interesting part about a journey about meditation or really going inside is you opening that sense. You open that sense of listening, open that sense of listening to the nature, the message that gives through the weather, the message that gives through the animal, and and just listen to yourself more, because you yourself is a very intelligent being. you know you are yourself is a very intelligent, because you know what you want, you know what you don't want. But because we're actually somehow we in this modern civilization, we shut down our senses by many things. And there
Yeah.
are a lot of forces of that. But I think it's like, we talked with the Tess about this. I think now it's time for each individual, because I think I want to point out one thing, that is, the more and more effort you are trying to make to understand other, you are actually giving the power away. I think
Yeah.
this is a very important point
Oh,
to
wow.
really you have to understand. The more the
Yes.
more you try to like really try to understand other, you are giving power away, because you we're here to of course understand other, but I think also really know yourself, and
Yeah.
what you are doing, what you're thinking, because your every actions, every thoughts is actually doing something in the world. And if you are
Yes.
aware of what your actions and thoughts are doing, then I think it's really you what you call you empowering, you empowering yourself, taking full responsibility, taking full control. And a lot of the time, when we try to understand other and try to change other, we're giving the power to other people, because we cannot really there's I think there's things I saw somewhere, that when I was young, I wanted to change the world.
Yeah.
And now I want to see like something,
Yeah.
I am old or something, and now I want to change myself. I think this is
Yes.
really. And I think the biggest impact that you want to make in the world is not about, I think it's not about changing the government, or not about changing, because like there is one of my friend, I think we were talking about, for more than 5,000 years, we're always trying to change other. We're trying to change the government. We're trying to
Ah,
change the
yeah.
system. We're trying
Outside
to,
ourselves.
we're trying to change this so many things. We want
Mm-hmm.
new government, and then
Mm-hmm.
somebody will, take over that
Mm-hmm.
government, and la la la. That's like we're
Yeah.
so much, and we're too much giving power to other. And so
Yeah.
the more, I think that's why for me is honoring the land is one of these method, this technique, that you really really understand yourself. And I think through honoring the land, meaning the gratitude to the elements like the fire, water, earth, because we're part of it. And when we have this sense of gratitude, we generate some kind of energy. And I think now these energy things, words and things are getting more and more familiarity, because what we are is just a frequency. And I think that's what I
Yes.
wrote in my book.
Yes.
It's like this my body is it's just a temporary this
Yes.
coat or something cloth that
Totally.
and
Mm-hmm.
but the frequency that I cultivate during my life, I mean, that's why when we do chanting the mantras like Om Ahum Bhajan Guru Bema Siddhe Om Ahum Bhajan Guru, we connect with the frequency that was created by the enlightened master a long time ago. We connect with those frequencies. And we're
Yes.
here to also be the frequency, create the frequency.
Yes.
And based
Yes.
on based on our own understanding of life, we generate those energy. So
I could not resist myself, and I thought I should jump in on the show, because I was watching and listening, and I was like, I have to be on the show. I don't know, because I was waiting for Tish to invite me, but I said, okay, let me go out and conquer the world.
You've got an unspoken invitation every time, man.
I know, but
So
see,
come on.
you are on the boss chair, so that should be a protocol set. So
Okay.
that's
Good
why
to
we were
know.
not going to be on TV. But Anil, I mean, a lot of our viewers are watching around the world, and I would like to know from you, what is the power of Om?
Mm.
wow.
Yeah, right.
Power of the
That's
Om,
loaded.
because
Could be a whole
I think
show.
we were we were just talking about we were just talking about the elements, the energy. And I think Om syllable is probably the most ancient, the vibrational chanting that connect. I think I would like to be here more clear that Om doesn't really belongs to any sort of any religion. It is the divine sound. It is the sound that takes us all beyond of any this limitation of the mind that set the boundaries. And it is usually made with this 3-syllable Auma, the 3-syllable. And also, and there are many the melodies that usually chanted. Sometimes it chanted fast, sometimes it chanted slow. It's probably one of the most important because it's also start. Whenever we do any kind of a chanting, it's more like an initiative. And it's the very interesting part of the Om. It has a creation and a destruction, or dissolution, or the creation and the destruction at the same time. So
beautiful.
it's like I think if I put it like that, Om is like a phoenix, the birds. It arises from the fire and it burn from the fire, the ashes, and then rise again. And what we want to use that metaphor, what do we want to use that as an example, is because the many of the emotions that we're generating in our mind and in our body, some are useful, some are not useful. Right. And but we're not rejecting anything, we're just cultivating everything. So Om is one of these vibration sound, very profound, very, very powerful mantra sound that actually have a very deep sort of effect when we do in our body, because we are also we're constantly dying and also constantly reborn. I think if you really go deep into even in our body itself, I don't know very much, but even in our inside body, there is like constantly these little bacteria or anything that are constantly dying, and they're also reborn.
Our cells always. Yeah.
Our cells always. So Om is one of these sound, and one of the profound thing is it has been chanted by a lot of different enlightened masters, yogis, and so when we really chant, we also bring those energy into ourselves and we connect. And I think that's what we said in the beginning, from the duality to non-duality, that we become from separateness to non-separateness. So
now one of my meditation I was just going to say, one of my meditation teachers said that when you chant, especially at a certain tone, it activates the pineal gland, which produces different hormones. So there's physiologically does something.
Yeah, I mean, in the yogic practice, there are major chakras that we have in our bodies, and usually Om, and there is also different seed syllable for each chakra. Each chakra's seed syllable, like Lam, Bam, Ram. There's different syllables for the chakras. But when we say Om, actually, I wouldn't say that it only activates the pineal gland, but it actually takes you from very deep root Muladhara chakra, the base chakra, to all the way to the crown chakra. It also takes you all the way. So Om is, I think we can also say it's like a primordial sound, because there are,
So Anil, I would like to know, when you talk about the vibrations and frequency, why the vibration is different in mountains as compared to plains and lands? Because whenever, that, a lot of our religious places in Southeast countries, they are at top of the mountain. So, but when you reach there's a difference of vibration and the frequencies compared to suppose if I compare Delhi and Nepal, there's a difference of vibration. So why is that? If you can elaborate on that.
So I think this I would like to add, like what Mark was saying, like when he go to the nature, that becomes the part of the meditation self. So eventually, brother Ankit, there is no difference between the mountain energies and the Delhi energy, or the sea energy. There is no difference. But I think for a certain time, when we talk about the mountain, it has this pureness, like it's never been like affected by the humans. First of all, the emotion, the roads and all that things that are that thing. That's one thing. That's the one common thing. The other thing is it's more the yogis of the past. Lot of yogis, even they say my generation, 10,000 or 9,000 years ago came from all the way Persia, and travel all the way to the Sweat Valley, Sindhus and India, and came all the way to Nepal, meditating and all that thing. The yogis always, they love the mountain, is because it has so much balance of elements. When we talk about, let's consider about the Mount Kailas. It is considered one of the most sacred place for Hinduism, Buddhism, shamanism, and many other tradition also. When we talk about the Mount Kailas, it's one of these places where you can naturally feel the balance of the elements. But for example, when I'm in Kathmandu and in downtown Kathmandu, it's like in the relative level, it's like there's so chaos,
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of cars, and there's like a lot of it's like people are running around. But for another called tantric practitioner, this very place can be a very place to like what you call turn the garbage into compost, like turn the disturbing things into more into a spiritual path. But I think for yeah, so eventually there is no different, brother, but in the surface level, for relative level, there is.
As a person living in New Delhi, and especially in the crowded environment, and person living in the urban area, we feel a lot more difference whenever we go to a mountain. It's like a different world to us, and then it's more connected, spiritual, more good environment, good people with less pollution and all those vibes. So that's why we prefer to go to mountains like a couple of months. And that's what we all are looking forward to. And I'll tell you one more thing, Anil. We are working on a show called Mountain Life pretty soon on IBM TV. And the show is hosted by one of the mountaineers. She's from Morocco. She lives in Switzerland, and she climbed almost all the summits, including Mount Everest. And she'll be talking about how the people live in the mountains and what kind of life mountain people have as compared to the people in the urban areas. So that would be an interesting show to watch out. But it's amazing to listen from you, and that's an amazing story. And we would love to again host you multiple times. Whenever you have time, you can just join us and let us know that you are ready for the show. And have you on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Back again, Anil has just got some amazing insights. So definitely I'm looking forward to hearing more of what he's got to say. One of our listeners, by the way, who's a regular fan of this show, J.H. Kim, was asking about the flute playing and where you learned the flute playing from. So could you share a little bit about that with us as well? Because like I said, I hate that I missed that. I will go back and watch the part of the show that I missed so that I can catch the flute playing, but I would love to learn how you develop that skill.
I think, I always learn flute technically because I love the sound. It's so beautiful. And but I tried like Nepali, Indian bansuri, and it's really nice, and I still love the sound, the bansuri sound very much. But I feel like I didn't really feel connected. It's like these things where you do things and you don't. But I love the sound. But somehow the bansuri, it's like I didn't feel connected. Then when I was in California, I suddenly when I landed, the first thing was I wanted to go to Mount Shasta. The Mount Shasta was the first thing I wanted to go because it was calling me. And I did some research about the Mount Shasta, why it's been sacred, or things like that. But then I wanted to have some tools that I could connect with these Native American traditions, culture, and wisdom. So I got the flute, and the day I grabbed the flute, somehow it really felt it's like almost meant to be together. It was meant to be together. So I really grabbed it. I went to the the rock and the natural places, and I start playing, and somehow it really feel really in tune, and it really feel I was able to like open my heart to feel the elements, the nature, and so I'm really firstly I don't really have official
Very
Jai Shri
nice.
Krishna. I don't really officially have any official teacher of the flute. So I don't have a teacher, but eventually I met someone that which was meant to be connected. His name is Guillermo, and he's I think also from South America, and so we in tune. But I would still say, how did I really learn to play flute? It's just being in the nature. Uh, Being in the nature, I learned like the river become my teacher, the wind
Yes.
become my teacher, and I
Yes.
think it sounds little unusual, but I think there is so many things that we can learn from the nature, including the flute.
Yes.
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 You know?
Well, it's almost like what it does is pull you in tune and get you in balance. So then what you're talking about before, you can remember what you knew before, right? Which is really what we're doing here, remembering the
Mm,
lessons. So it allowed you to bring out what was inside, it seems to me.
mm, mm. I
So,
mean, I think probably that's the flute is the one who actually opens me to write my book, The Honoring the Land, because it really opened my heart. And I mean, the interesting thing, I think I was telling Tess before that, it took me actually 7, 8 months to publish the book. But it almost and it's in Amazon, and people are really writing really nice review because they really felt the book is really helping them in their life. Um, but it's almost happened. I think in Tibetan word it's called miloblam, which means almost happened effortlessly. It's like there is I didn't feel any pressure. Like there is no pressure of the publishing, there's no pressure of writing, there's no pressure of the
wonderful.
anything. It's like, and I think it's really interesting than what I normally hear about the book publishing, writing, and all that thing. So uh you know um
Yeah, I've had friends that have had issues with it, and then they complain about the cost
yeah,
and all this other stuff. But you're
right.
right. When you're following your soul heart, it's almost like the way clears, right?
Yeah,
And you
and
just move forward.
I'm hoping to also build this place called the Temple of Elements, the Honoring the Land Retreat Center, Meditation Center. And the core practice of that place is going to be the elements gratitude practice, and we will do a lot of different ceremonies and based on the elements and nature, um, I do have that vision, but I'm also not really like, okay, I need to build that thing, and you know but I'm hoping that because I think the world really needs now education which is more based on elements, not only based on like the what we have now. And I think my teachings, I think, is going to be more about we can be creative, we can be financially strong, we can be artist, we can be develop, we can develop things, we can be creative,
Mhm.
we can be
Mhm. Mhm.
sustainable, we can be all that thing is through the balancing with the elements. I think that's what I have in my vision. So
Mhm.
No, definitely, that's a great idea, and I think that I can't wait to hopefully get to come to that center and everything, and hopefully it'll be built soon. I know that my dad at one time was talking about building a resort, no, not a resort center, but like a retreat center at some point.
mm,
But I actually need to give my dad a call because last time I checked, we have an idea of where the property will be and all of that, but there's that thing called money that sometimes gets in the
right,
way. So we've got to
right,
figure out
right.
where
I
it
mean,
can actually
I
take
think
place. I know
I think
that that's something
I
that
think
has been on his vision plate for a
I
while, but the
I
last time
think
I asked him about it about a year ago, it hadn't quite come to fruition. So I need to talk to him about that to see if we can't get it going. Maybe we'll get Tish and you to help him pro that wheel and get it going even faster.
yeah, I mean, you when you think about building something or manifesting things, I think I grew up with very like really very difficult state of my life, and really financially like zero, like I didn't had anything about it and all that thing. This like whole story is there, you know um but I think the more and more I really I feel like when you really in tune and when you really find the passion, this is the
Yes.
most
That's
important
excellent.
thing. I think when you really find the passion, I think that's where you really you know become more like complete. Because like because we're doing so many things in our life and without the passion, and when there is no passion, and we call it in Tibetan language, they call toa, the interest, the passion, the willingness, and this thing, then it just becomes, the work that you do, and then, at the end of the day, you get frustrated, like, oh, I did so many work and I'm not I need to grab a beer, or want to go for gambling, or go for bar, and go for something that's really refresh me, because your work is not refreshing you. So really, I think,
yeah, I totally agree, because I call it, when I teach Tai Chi, I call it that divine spark, right? It's that passion. It's that thing that you connect to inside yourself. And you know it when you find it, because like you said, it's almost like things get clear, things feel at peace, things feel calm. But it's that divine spark, and we have to find it, and we have to follow it. So many people have it and just like, oh, that felt good for a minute, and then they go and they do something, they don't follow it. And that's what I think, that's really what we're called to do. And that's a key to what our purpose is here in this, go round with this earthly body, is whatever that spark is, to follow it, because that's part of our purpose and what we need to do. And we can call it passion, but to me, it's a deeper level, because again, that's part of the purpose. But that's why we're passionate about it, is because it winds up to be our purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is we have to understand that we can do so many things in our life.
Yes.
We can do so many things, but something that really in tune, something that really aligns, something that really, you feel satisfied and complete. And I think that finding that thing, I think, is very important, because that is almost like winning a lottery. It's like people talk about the lottery. People talk about lottery like, oh, but this lottery really, it's money, things just come and go. It's like this never is going to be stuck, whether it is. But when you really find the passion, I think that's why I think there's many celebrities, many high ranked people who are actually, because of having the lot of money, or because of having that fame and all that thing, have actually a lot of trouble. So it's because it's sometimes you have a fame and name and money and all that thing, but if you don't have that that
Connection,
connectedness
that
within
spark.
yourself, then this all becomes the almost valueless.
And also think,
like almost Dalai Lama, he's I think in his one video he said, you have a 1 million, you have a $1 million table, but if you don't have a peace in your mind or heart, then this becomes just like, it becomes just so it's most important. I think that's why I think we want to go back to honoring the land, connecting the land, connecting to the elements, connecting to the nature, because I think Mark, like, and you also, Ankit, yeah.
I was going to say, because that's
when you
really
go
our
in
true nature.
Yeah.
All these other things. I was going to say, we keep talking about the same theme of, going outside ourselves to try to find truth, going outside ourselves to try to find happiness, going outside ourselves to try to find peace and balance. And that's not where it's found. It's inside ourselves, and it's that connection. So these things that we go after, the money, the cars, the houses, all these things, like you said, is impermanent. It's just some kind of fixture that we make in our brain, because to tell you the truth, a house isn't going to make you happy. A car's not going to make you happy. Even like you said, Anil, $10 million isn't going to make you happy if you're not connected and you don't have that divine spark. Now, if one of us, let's say on this podcast, were to get $10 million, I think we know how, there's a lot of people that would know how to spend it to help other people, to make people happy. But like, for example, giving to your temple, Anil, because you're in the process right now of getting the funds for it. And so giving money to that would actually help, because eventually what you're doing is giving back to other people to help them find their true nature. So you're actually helping out altogether. But before we get off that, I wanted to talk a little bit, Anil, about how people can contribute to your temple, because you said you had different levels that people were doing with your art. And I just want to talk about that for a minute. And if you could mention the website as well, so people can see the visual of what it is we're talking about.
Sure. I think my visual can be seen of my vision that it came to myself that I want to build in this kind of structure. I want to build teepees, and I want to have like this temple of elements, like the earth temple, water temple, fire temple, the air temple, and the space temple, because it is the core essence of ourself. And my website is called honoringtheland.org. Um, and
Okay.
because I'm an artist and I had a gallery before. I still have a gallery in my town, and I'm working on, like, I'm trying to find a way where I feel like I don't want to get a free donation kind of thing, because I mean, it's okay, if somebody want to give, but I want to build something like if somebody donates certain amount of monies or certain amount of uh, you know tiers, that's called, right, the
Mm-hmm.
different levels. I want to offer paintings because I have a lot of paintings with me, really. You can actually check in my website also about the paintings, the meaning, and you can see how amazing these paintings are. So people in the different level, whenever they donate something, they also I would like to also offer them at my gratitude, and their name will be written in the center as the co-founder, or the sponsor or anything, because I also want to really appreciate those people.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you talk about the different um, areas for the elements, because I just got to bring in a conversation my son and I had. I was telling him about your temple of elements, and I love the way he thinks. He thinks like almost totally different than me. He's very logical, and he goes through it all. But what he did is he said, that's so fascinating, because I was just watching The Last Airbender. Right now, that was a cartoon, but I adored that cartoon because it was all about the elements. Did you ever see that cartoon, Anil?
No, actually, I haven't.
Oh, you should, when you get around a TV, whenever you're off the mountain and you have a TV again, whatever, or you can stream that, but whatever. It was a cartoon, and it was based 100% on the elements. So he was an air bender. So what it was is you had water benders, you had fire benders, you had earth benders, and then which one am I leaving out? Air, fire, water, and
The
earth.
space, yeah.
Space.
Stone.
Earth,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you get the point. So there's all these benders,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
was cute because
absolutely.
it was a cartoon, right? And I always felt, because the earth is my element, I was always like, I'm like her, I'm the earth bender, boom. Because she'd go like that, and the earth would go, woo. I'm getting kind of excited, but I love the cartoon. But the point is that was the point in the avatar to save the universe, had to learn how to bend all of the elements.
Right.
So isn't that what we're talking about? That you have to balance we're all made up of the elements. You balance the elements, you balance yourself. So it's just funny how a children's cartoon, it was really cute, but it taught this lesson that we're talking about here today.
Yeah, I saw this movie called I think the Lorax, that things.
Oh, the
That
Dr.
Lorax?
Seuss, where he was saving nature about trees.
Yeah. Yeah, about trees. I think a few years ago I saw that movie. It's really inspiring.
I
That
love it when the children, when
yeah.
there's actually a point to it, and they teach a lesson that can potentially help if the kids remember it, and learn how to apply it. But the Lorax is exactly
And I
right.
think
Like, why
that's
are you
what
cutting
I
down all
think
the
that
trees?
yeah, that's what I'm talking probably. I think whether it's my center or I'm hoping that I eventually in few years. I have no plan to travel to any countries right now because I'm in my own training time.
Yeah.
But I'm mostly I really want to have create this space where people can really learn about the elements. I think,
Mm-hmm.
and even in my center, we are hoping that we will create a lot of workshops and a lot of seminars and talks and events and all that things where we can invite some different people on the nature field, or eco field, or or that is whatever that is called, to invite people and to have like a sort of conversation about how we can. And
Mm-hmm.
an interesting thing is, when I invite people to the space, and we do events, and they go back to their home, they go back to
Yeah.
their their own space, and then I think the really important thing I want to really make it to people is to how to like simply more integrate, because sometimes I see people go to 5 days retreat, 6 days retreat, and when they come back to their home, it's a little hard to kind of it become a little
Integrate.
hard to sort of integrate, because it's like I was in the mount, like Ankit was saying, I was in the mountain, it's so beautiful and it's so peaceful, and but it's like Delhi, where it's like this and like that. So like how can you more also like bring sort of that elements to your wherever you are, whether in Delhi or New York or wherever, in the peaceful or whatever that place is. I think that's the core. I think the elements that I want to share is like you know
Well,
bring
that's
it
the
to the
education.
wherever you are.
That's the gift of education, right? And that's part of why it's so important to understand, because you said you're going to have workshops, you're going to have different things that are going to teach people about what the elements are, how they relate to the elements, how to, you can say use them or how to channel them. And then they take that back. Unlike Ankit, I do the same thing. When I go to the mountains, I love it. I feel so peaceful. Same thing with the beach. Oh, it feels so good. And then you go back and you're like, I want to go back. Like, how many times on Facebook do you see that post about I need to find my peace at the beach or whatever? And it's and what you're trying to do, Anil, is you're trying to help them bring that back with them. Because again, what I feel that peace is from is the balance of the elements, and that's they're getting in tune with the elements that they're not in their normal environment, because we don't surround ourselves. A personal example, most people when they come in my house, like I had a student come first time 2 weeks ago, and he's like, the energy is so palpable here. It's so positive. And I try to bring all the elements. I've got plants, I've got water, I've got, some type of aromatherapy going on. The fire's the one that I got to work on, but I cook a lot, so maybe we'll count that one. But anyway, but that's the thing, and that's what's so beautiful about what you're trying to do, because you're trying to give that education, which is the gift to bring back. Because without that education, Ankit, I'm in the same boat as you.
No, I understand completely, and I completely agree. And then for that, we need to still keeps on working, and we need more heroes to talk about all this education, because I think on the mainstream media, we are talking about politics and all those stuff, which is not a part of what we wanted to do. Everyone want to go to the mountains and everyone want to talk about all those things. But when you talk about the mainstream media, they talk about something else. And that's what influences people, because people think that this is the real world and this is not the real world. And that's why we have pandemic, because during the pandemic, we don't know what to do. And all the people in the world is on hold because they don't know what to do. And if you talk to Anil, and he said that we have plenty of things to do during the pandemic as well. And we were like, wow, what a world, because we are not a part of that Anil's world.
That's 100% correct, because we all look outside ourselves for the truth, and that's not where it's at.
No, the truth is
$10 million. If I have some money, I will create a forest. And I will create an open medical hospital where people can go and live and do retreat in the mountains. Because what happens is that in Delhi, in all the major urban cities around the world, hospitals are in concrete buildings. And I think, according to me, that is not the way to, give your healing and all this stuff. I think it should be out in the mountains, in the nature, and all those things can be followed in there as well. I think that could be a game changer, but I wanted to spend a lot of money on that, basically. And if I can do that, if I have that power and conviction, if I can,
I think
I will definitely work that out.
Well, I think I agree with Ankit what you said, but I think the more we also want to more bring these elements of these things, these teachings into the regular cities also. I think it's a very important, and I think because as a traveler and as a meditator, I think I understand the perspective of it's nice to have a retreat center in the mountain, and it's nice and but I think it's nice to also give a people something that they can create into their city world, whether Tish have a plant in her house, or a planted tree, have a project of planting the trees in the street, or having something something that you can bring more into your world. I mean, we all live in a different world, and I think there is a place for everybody that they can do into their world. That's what I believe. So
Yeah, because one of the things that I'm noticing is that a lot of times when there is those connections to the elements, unfortunately, we don't make the connection in what's being said. Like I said, I saw we just had a listener that talked about how the elements are used in a video game, and they mentioned that and everything. I was actually just as you were talking, was thinking about another classic TV show that a lot of folks remember, and it involved the elements. But how many people actually made that connection to the elements when they think about the Power Rangers? And the Power Rangers was a game that
I
definitely
love Power
was all
Rangers.
about the elements and things of that nature. But a lot of times folks didn't make that connection to the elements. And I would even argue sometimes our religious leaders have made statements where they have brought the elements in, and we even think of these as like some famous speeches. Because one of my most famous speeches that I always admire is Martin Luther King's I just came from the mountaintop speech and everything. So he's talking about the elements and going and having some sort of enlightenment when he had that mountaintop experience before his death. But I don't know that people always make that connection to what Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about when he actually made that statement. So that's just some of the things I wonder is we do enough good job of even making the connection when the connections are made for us, whether that's from our spiritual leaders or from some of our other leaders, because I sometimes feel that it isn't done enough. And then just really quickly, and I'd love to hear Anel's thoughts on this as well, is that sometimes I feel that we let too much division happen, even within our religious world, kind of coming back to what Anka was saying, because a lot of times I feel that if we think about the true meaning of life and the true message of, I would argue, all the world religions, and I would even argue in some cases, those that don't even have a religious belief, that at the core, most of us want to live the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and a couple of other very basic principles that I think the majority of mankind, there might be a couple of evil people here and there, but they are the vast minority compared to the rest of the population.
But Mark, they're not even people. They're balancing the world and life, because we can't be. I mean, it's not possible to only have good people around you,
right?
And also doing a lot of good work. So when you talk about, suppose I'm an evil person, but I'm also doing a lot of good work. So I'm evil in some state at some point of time. But it's not that I'm evil for 24 hours or maybe throughout my life. And also when you talk about religion, according to me, what I understand is that we should have an umbrella religion which is known as citizenship, global citizen, and humanity. And under that, we can practice a lot of religion. But if we start asking about what is the religion and all this stuff, that is the problem, what I can see. But according to me, in the form when we fill about religion, instead of religion, we should ask me what is the bandwidth. If you have a good internet bandwidth, you are connected to the world. If you're not, then you're not connected to the world.
That's interesting, Anka.
Yeah. I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense.
So right now, if you connect to the world, you need a good bandwidth and not religion right now.
I love that.
What you practice for yourself.
No, I agree with you.
Absolutely.
But Anil, I would love to hear your thoughts on just kind of the unifying factors, and also how I know that a lot of times when I talk to some of my religious friends, some of them might be Christians, they might be Muslims, they might be whatever, but a lot of times the core belief is the same, which is us as one universe, as Ankit talks about. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Religion.
I think, I think this principle about, we can, the principle about, we can all, be together in our religion. I think that's a really very nice sort of concept. But I think it's a little, it's not only we want to come together just for, just for a cup of tea, but, we want to come together more about, because we can definitely, I see a lot of people, they come for a cup of tea together and they have a nice picture together, and then eventually then it's become something else. So I think we want to talk when in the travel. And I think my project about this honoring the land it's one of these things also where I'm hoping that to invite people and let's talk about the elements, let's talk about the earth, let's talk about the forest, let's talk about the water, let's talk about because I'm a Buddhist and you're a Christian. Okay, if you can survive without water, and I mean, whatever that is, that's okay, So, but we're not. We all need good air. We all need good water. We all need, the forest and all that thing. So, I think, for me is I want to really I mean, I want to accept that there is there is always going to be different. I think that's important to accept that there is always going to be different. And I think, the Christianity is there, Islam is there, the Buddhist and Hindus and Jews and, all that different things are there. But I am more connected with more of the shamanism right now. And I think through the shamans, I think I'm more bringing this wisdom of the earth and the wisdom of the nature and wisdom of the elements of the fire and water. Because, when I travel in the United States and, when I came back to Nepal, Nepal is also the mountain country. So we have a people here that is like the shamans, and they've been practicing here for like long time, and their core practice is to honor the nature, honor the elements. And one of the fascinating things I have come to know is there is this parallel, this similarity between Native Americans, the First Nation people, and these shamans in Nepal. And there's that the rituals are really done in a more similar way. There's customs little difference, the cloth and traditional different, but there is a lot of similarity. But I'm not also saying that the shaman is also going to be only the answer, because I feel like even in the shaman culture, there's like, people cut the animals, they sacrifice the animals in the name of the Almighty, or in the name of the, things like that. And that's where I think I want to add the Buddhist principle, because like I think I was telling the Tish earlier that in Buddhism, one of the profound things is, we consider all sentient beings being directly, indirectly our mother. So Senjen Tamze, this all sentient beings, being directly, indirectly our mother. So you want to generate, this is what we call bodhicitta, the enlightened heart, the compassion heart. You want to develop as much as you can. You don't want to cut the animals and say like, hey, God of the whatever that thing, save this planet or whatever that. We don't want to do those things. We want a more, and I think that's where I want to bring the Buddhist principle, and also add the shamanic principle that is more about, honoring the land. Nature is our principle. We need to treat nature, and we need to respect the nature. We need to take care of the Mother Earth. And I think this is the shamanic, the principle. But then Buddhist principle is about respect all sentient beings, even the tiny little. I think this is what interesting thing. One, remember that the Buddha's disciple Maudgalayan and Sariputra, they carry this one stick with them with that makes the noise. And the very fascinating thing, I didn't know that was, the reason to carry that stick with the noise is every time they move, the stick actually makes the noise, and it is, they believe, these tiny little insect and creatures they give away. So you can imagine how much level of the compassion there is, because what we have compassion right now is like, for example, in the state, like we have a compassion for the dog, but we don't have a compassion for the cows. This is like, that's like, that's not compassion. That's like, still we're living more, like, this, like in Nepal, we have I think we don't kill cows here. We don't kill dogs, but there's like they sacrifice buffalo, chickens and all that thing. And it's the same thing, like we love one things and we hate other things. That's like, and we need to change that. And I think that's where I want to add the Buddhist principle about respecting the beings in their place. So that's I think that's
it's interesting when you say the mother, because I had not heard that so much before. I'd heard about respect all living things, right?
Right.
And that's why when we were talking before and you talked about the earthworms, I mean, I thought about that for days, because you guys are even so compassionate. You don't want to step outside in the rainy season because you don't want to hurt the worms. I mean, that's amazing. But yeah, so we pick and choose who we're compassionate for, and then we call ourselves compassionate. You're right. That's not really compassion, is it?
Yeah, I think Akin had a question or a thought that he wanted to share, and I was actually thinking about that as well. I know that recently in my apartment, I had a little bit of a slight invasion of the ants, and I was actually trying to guide the ants out. So I was like using business cards and other things. So I was actually trying to push them out because I didn't want to. I mean, the natural instinct is to destroy them and to get rid of them that way, but I was trying to like find a way to save their lives and everything. Unfortunately, Tish, I didn't totally succeed. I think there were a couple of casualties, but I did try to save at least a few of them.
You tried.
I mean,
So
life
Anil,
is full of, learning. I mean, it's
Yeah.
full of learning. We learn in so many ways. So.
Thank
so
you.
Anil, when we talk about Mother Earth, I'm always curious to know who is the father then, because we talk about Mother Earth.
Well, I think it is. I think it is.
There is one more thing to it. So I'll tell you something. So we have a milk brand which is known as Mother Dairy. So we said, who is the father? So I just wanted to know who is the father of our environment or our nature.
Yeah, I think.
Thought about that.
Yeah, I mean,
The sun.
I think in
the sun is the father. The earth is the mother. That's who it is, because the energy comes from the sun. It's the sun impregnates the earth to create the living thing. So I would say the sun, but I've never thought about that. That's interesting.
So what about the moon?
She's the midwife? I don't know. No, kidding.
The moon is the uncle. Just get it straight. The moon is the uncle.
I think the Native American culture, they consider the father sky. They call it the sky calls their father. But anyway, I think more than a gender thing, I think we're more talking about the compassion qualities. I think this is more we have to understand. When we are talking about more the spiritual stuff, I think we also have to really understand the symbolic meaning, because what does really mother mean? Nourishing qualities. What is really mother mean? And when we say mother, mother sentient beings, is because the nourishing quality. I mean, father is also nourishing quality, but I think when we say I think the Native American culture, they consider earth as the mother, because we get a lot of things from there, and there's a father sky also that holds this space, things like that. So, but most important thing, what is the really mother? Why we say it mother? Because we don't want to take it for granted. This is what is happening, because we take so many things for granted. We take so many things for granted, and abuse. So why we say it mother nature, so that we don't abuse it, because we are so much abusing the earth technically. We're doing so much things, and I think the honoring the land is one of these journey is to reconnect to your mother, because technically in the yoga practice, you are the mother, you are the father, because we practice the Ida, Pingala, and Susumna, all that balanced things we have in our body. We practice Om Bilom, so that we can connect with that the middle points and things like that. We have a balanced things. But when we say manam kadanya mesinjen thamche phama magir pani chicken me, this the all beings have been directly indirectly our mother, our parents, when we talk about the lives, because life travels from one after other. So
wonderful.
Well, I got another theory for you, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Anil. But since we said Mother Earth, and there is an element that is involved with the father and everything, and that is the element of father time. Because I've got this gray hair now and everything, so definitely, I was wondering what your thoughts are. Maybe that's who the father is, because time is something that we can't escape. It's something that definitely
time is a
that's
construct
happening in our life and everything. So maybe the father is father time.
Time is a construct, Mark.
I know.
it is, yeah.
It's fake.
I think somewhere, where was it? I think even now Stephen Hawking, I think he's more like talking about the time being more like, I think Albert Einstein already I think talk about the time being not the straight but parallel, and I think and the lucid and all that thing. So I think again, I think that is more like an ultimate sort of understanding about everything. But I think if we really want to understand the time, we do really have to understand, it does because like the beard is getting white and all that thing. It's like there is this, but again, like the main topic of this, things is your mind is never locked down, never in lockdown. So your body, your mind doesn't have any time. Your body does, because otherwise there would not be word called relative truth and absolute truth. There is called Kunzol Demba and Dundam Demba. There's like, we have to understand the, the principle, like of the relative truth, and then we can understand the absolute truth. Yes, and I think there is a time, but also there is no time. So it is up to each individuals to experience and explore about that, and if you think you have a time, then you become limited sometime. And so,
True that.
So, and if you don't believe you have time, you also like, just get wild.
So, Anil, when you talk about time, what do you think about the age basically? Because every year we have we addition to 1 year onto our age. So, what do you think about age basically? Do you think age is still a number, or people mature with age, or what's the concept with the age basically?
I think we want to talk, or like we said earlier, we're not here to I don't feel like we're here to learn new things. I mean, of course there is a possibility of this things, but I feel like we're here to remember what we already know. And so when we talk about the age and these things, it's a cycle that it really and I think we really we do have some time, because our body does getting old and things like that. But your mind, so the point is, now you want to use your body to connect with that infinite mind that you have. And so definitely, like there's always, it's like the universe, your karma or merits that you have accumulated in your life, your previous life, it's giving you now an opportunity to understand that infinite time. But if you waste this, goes astro, just mingle into just relative things, like just for temporary things, then it just become one of those things that you do now. That's where you are. Yeah, there is age and all that things, and time is limited and all that thing. But there's, I think, many things now. They also exploring about the time traveler, like people who actually come back. And so for them, like time is like just a transitions, like things, but it's not for everyone. But so I think the most important thing right now, we're talking about whether we go we have next life or not life. That doesn't matter. That doesn't really matter. What is really matter is what we can do now, and what we can do now, and what can we integrate to
So we use this symbol as live and let live in on IBM TV, and that means we want people to live and let live, and also learn a lot of things, and also present in the same time. Don't think about the past and future, and just focus on what you are doing right now.
There are so many things.
So that's what we do. I mean, we learn, we save a lot of things, and that's what we try to do basically.
Yeah, we learned a lot of great things here, and definitely glad to have you on here, Anil. You've been doing a great job. And Tish, this is just another amazing guest that you have brought on, and you've done.
We're not done.
I know we're not done. I know we're not done.
We're not done. We have. He's going to lead us through a very special meditation before we're done. So,
oh yeah, and I want to go through the meditation.
So excited
I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I was just wondering, Anil, have you ever studied any of the Yoruba priestesses or any of the Yoruba religions? Because I've got some friends here that are practicing that religious thought, and that to me is another one that is kind of connected to Shaoism. I'm mispronouncing the word, but you know what I'm trying to say, as well as the Native American thought and things of that nature. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that, just because I have some friends that are practicing that here in this area.
Okay. No, I have not heard about that. I think I heard about Jerusalem. I think different. They're from more like Persian and Iranian kind of thing, and they also worship the elements and things like that. Yeah, hopefully we can invite everyone, and talk about the elements, and not only to just take a picture, but if each individual spiritual beings deliver like, hey, earth is important, let's take care about the elements and nature, the earth, water and fire. I think it will be really something that is for our generation and for the next generation. So
oh, no doubt about that. I know a friend of mine actually just moved to the beach, so I'm with Tish on that. I'm trying to find a way. It's actually a fellow board member of mine on one of the boards that I serve at. So they just moved to the beach, and I'm trying to find a way to bribe all of the board to go visit them at the beach since they just moved there. So I'm trying to find a way to get to the beach so I can enjoy that beach environment since they just got that beach house. And I do love the beach. I was just there on New Year's Day. So I was there New Year's Day of this year before this whole coronavirus madness happened. And I definitely enjoyed. Even though I'm a water sign, I don't swim, but I enjoy walking around the water, enjoying the water, and just enjoying that element. In that sense, I'm like Tish. If it's nothing but me walking down on the shore, barefoot or not, and just kind of enjoying that ocean view. That ocean view is just amazing. Just seeing that vast blue, and sometimes seeing the dolphins and other things that might come out in there, as well as some of the other things. It's just an amazing view, and I'm missing it, and I need to get out there. So, like I said, I'm trying to talk my friend Dawn into letting all of the board members of the Carolina Theater come out there and hang out with her as she's an author. She's got time. She's back there writing a book, so we can all go and invade the beach.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in California, it's like I almost watch the sunset every day. It's like there's so much beautiful, like Golden Gate Bridge, and just watch that beautiful sunset going down and play my flute. Oh, I mean, it's like so beautiful. I really enjoy it every day, So
balanced.
All right, so I think we're gonna.
I think we're ready to
now.
Yes.
Conceal this, and I think before we start meditation, I think we want to also dedicate all these conversations, all these energies, all these frequencies that we have created through this discussion, and to namaste to everyone also. And also in Buddhist practice, one of the profound thing I have learned is whatever you do, at the end you dedicate. It's called ngoa. You dedicate for all the sentient beings. And so we want to take a moment to also to dedicate this energy to all the sentient beings in the world, close, near, far, visible, invisible. So we want to dedicate this all energy to everyone. And so wherever you are watching from, we can start doing meditation by just relaxing wherever you are, whether it's in the chair or in the cushion, and just being aware of your state, of your mind and your body, and having this, umbrella of non-duality and also non-judgmental for yourself, and taking a moment to remember your parents and giving them gratitude for their kindness. And taking a moment to remember the elements like fire, water, earth, air, and space. And now you can imagine yourself as your vein is traveling down to the earth, connecting to the earth. You are rooting down to the earth. And you are like being a tree where you are equally grounded and also excited. And then you can stay there for some certain time of grounding and expanding. And coming back to your self and putting your hand in your chest with the namaste gesture. And dedicating that balanced energy of the grounding and the expanding to all the sentient beings in the world. And here's a 4-direction prayer that I would like to read, starting from the east. Great Spirit of light, come to me out of the east, red with the power of the rising sun. Let there be light in my words. Let there be light in my path that I walk. Let me remember always that you give the gift of the new day, and never let me burdened with the sorrow by not starting over again. Great Spirit of love, come to me with the power of the north, white. Make me courageous when the cold wind falls upon me. Give me strength and endurance for everything that is harsh, everything that hurts, everything that makes me squint. Let me move through life, ready to take what comes from the north. Great life-giving spirit, I face the west, black color, the direction of the sun down. Let me remember every day that moment will come when my sun will go down. Never let me forget that I must fade into you. Give me a beautiful color, give me a great sky for setting, so that when it is my time to meet you, I can come with glory. Great Spirit of creation, send me the warm and soothing winds from the south, yellow. Comfort me and caress me when I am tired and cold. Unfold me like the gentle breeze that unfold the leaves on the trees, as you give to all the earth your warm, moving wind. Give to me, so that I may grow close to you in warmth. Aho.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for being a part of the show today and for spreading your light in the world and everything that you are doing to support and lift us all up. Thank you, Anil. So
Yeah,
for our
and I want
viewers,
to send one message that please do not forget that we are all light, and please do not forget that you have a teacher within you, you have a student within you. Please find a way to connect to your light, to connect to your teacher, to connect to your student. And from Nepal, I would like to send my best wishes to everyone on this journey. Yeah.
That was so beautiful, Anil. I want to thank you for those kind words and everything. And that is definitely a great message that you sent to the world. And I, as the producer of this show, definitely appreciate what you said and everything. So just wanted to let you know that I was definitely impressed with your wise words of wisdom. But I've got to also find out from Tish, who do we have on here next week? And before we get to next week, you said that there was no fire in your house. I thought about that. You probably got some candles burning,
I
candles
do.
fire. So you do
I
have
do.
some fire going on.
You're right. And just a note about that, I got to tell you, last time I went camping, which was last week, I hadn't been able to make a fire in years. And that's why I knew my fire element, even like physically, is not working. But I made the biggest fire and it worked and it was beautiful. So, yes, you're right. The fire element is coming. I do have some. It's coming. You're right. Working on it. So, we have our CBD farmers. are making a show next week. We're going to talk about the CBD plight, the benefits of it, what it's like to be a farmer in North Carolina, because there's a political battle, like there is a political battle about just about everything right now. There's a political battle about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on there, as well as they're going to have an event that people can actually go harvest their own. And we're going to talk a little bit about that event. So hopefully it'll be, we won't talk about non-duality, I don't think, but we'll definitely talk about connections with folks and trying to find, and other alternatives to finding a baseline of health. So should be great.
Sounds like that will be a great show. I know that I'm looking forward to seeing that one as well. So I think that since Ankit's here, we're going to close out with his favorite person, his daughter, our ambassador. So I think we'll close out with the ambassador as well as the flight taking off. But we'll bring the ambassador on first. So I know that I'm a big fan.
और ऐसे अपने खांसी जब आएगी तो ऐसे करेंगे अच्छू अच्छू और कोरोना वायरस को धन्यवाद हमारा म्यूजिक सुनने का.
Yay!
That's from India.
Like I said, and she did a great job. She always does a great job. Like I said, she's got new fans. I see that Nell is a fan. I told you that Brian, our LinkedIn guy, has become a fan. So we're just going to start a fan club for your daughter and everything. So she's got a fan club going. But right now, let's bring on that airplane, and that'll wrap up this show. Once again, I do want to thank
So Mark, final word before we wrap up.
We're still live?
We are still live. Mark wants to confirm.